Hello, everyone. Welcome to Football Worldwide, a new episode of Everything EPL. We are live today, and we need to discuss this 3-4 fixtures that was played from the Premier League after all the postponement that we saw. COVID cases are rising, and they are talking about canceling the games. But in the Premier League, we're just recording this on Monday, where the clubs have actually refused to postpone any games around the Christmas break. So we're gonna see lots of games. Boxing Day, 28th, January 5th until now, and then they're gonna have another discussion, I think, next week or the week after. But we've got a lot to talk about, guys. Cayman here with me and Jackson. Guys, I'm not sure where to start, but there's only one place to start, to be honest. I know Cayman is smiling because his team now is flying. Arsenal won 2 games in a row convincingly, to be honest. Jackson is not in a happy place because of what happened to Chelsea. I know that they're now a top four in the top four race instead of the title race, and we're gonna talk about this later. But hey, Liverpool, I don't want to say dropped points because Spurs actually played amazing, and I think it's gonna be really hard for anybody to beat this Spurs team easy again because they actually on paper, and I know Cayman you don't like that, on paper they created more clear cut chances. They
Really?
had 6 big chances to one in this game. They are actually expected goals 2.6, if I'm not mistaken, to 1.5. So that was the difference. I know that there was a lot going on in the games, a lot of referees' decision, and podcasts have killed it. And Anthony is saying Forza Conte. You can tell he's an Inter supporter, so he likes Spurs to go top. Even though Anthony was here with us a couple of episodes ago, and he's a Man United fan, but I think he's a Conte fan as well. Uh, I'm gonna jump right away into the referee's decision, but I don't want to spend an hour discussing this. To be honest, Kane's red card is supposed to be a red card, and I know that
Yeah.
people say there's no question here. I don't want to just talk about it again. Do you guys
Mm-hmm.
agree, or anybody has any other theory than what we have been hearing for the last 24 hours?
I don't know how you see it either way. I think it's just a red.
I think the only reason it wasn't a red is because Robertson jumped up a little bit and like all his weight wasn't on that foot. If his weight was on that foot, that tackle would have looked a lot worse and it would have been given a red. But I think because he kind of dodged it and didn't hit him as hard as he like went in, if that makes any sense, that wasn't a it,
Well,
that's
I got something I could do for you, Jackson. I could just go into that video of the tackle and put Xhaka's face on Harry Kane's body, and you can see it as a red every single time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But hear me out, guys. Let me just ask you something. It's a really interesting theory that I actually heard. If someone going with someone going with excessive force in a tackle, studs up, but the opponent jumped and there was no contact, is that going to be a red card or it's going to be a yellow card?
There was contact though.
That's the thing. They say Robertson actually avoided they said that because we slowed it down and it showed like this, that it's the contact point, but they said there was no weight in the tackle. Anyway, I think it's a red card because there was contact, as Cayman said. I don't know how he got away with it, but Paul Turney actually had a really, really bad game. And I'm not sure why he was like this, like why he was reluctant to make any decision because the penalty was blatant, to be honest. And for the VAR room not to call that back is ridiculous, to be honest. You guys have any other theory? And actually, Paul Turney told Jurgen Klopp after the game that Diego Jota stopped and he looked for the contact. And I didn't see that.
I didn't see that either. I thought that was a pen. Like it was kind of similar when Deli Alley went down. I thought Deli Alley there kind of stopped, like he dragged his leg a little bit to initiate the contact, and everyone agreed that wasn't a pen. But for me, that Jota call that was a locked on penalty.
At least it was consistently bad, guys, because Harry Winks pushed exactly the same, right? By Matip, but nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
But it's the exact same penalty, by the way.
To me the thing about the Jota penalty, and it's, I mean, looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's a penalty. but I maybe see an argument that it's not a clear and obvious error. I guess if that makes sense, because it's not like in the second time you see something new that Paul Tierney missed the first time. Like he gets bumped in the back and then he goes down. So I like in that way I could maybe see VAR going like, look, clearly he saw this and didn't think it was
So,
left.
so what you're saying, it was Paul Turner's decision, and they said, "Did you see that? Did you see he pushed him?" He's like, "Yes, I saw
Yeah,
that he pushed him, and I don't think it's a penalty. Move on." And he moved on
yeah, that's what
because,
I'm
yeah,
saying.
that's a very good point,
And
Cayman.
do I
Like,
think it's the wrong call? Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
But
because I
it's
but
guarantee
again,
you,
do we get wrong calls all the time? Because they can't correct that. If the referee said, "I saw it," and I'm convinced it's not a penalty, the VAR cannot force him to go look at the
yeah,
monitor because, okay, he saw the push and he thought that the contact was initiated by Diego Jota. They tell him, okay, move on then, because
yeah.
you know what you called, and it's at the end, it's his decision.
Mhm.
I think that's what happened, and I agree with you, Cayman. Uh, I don't think there is anything else referees wise to talk about.
Robertson.
Absolutely, it's a red card. There is no.
Yeah.
Do you have any other theory, Jackson?
No, I was just gonna say, because I know a lot of Liverpool supporters were really mad saying that wasn't a red card, but I think when you saw it, Robertson, it just didn't look like he was playing the ball, and like he was like 2 inches away from the touchline, so like he did not need to go in with that force. It was just I don't know how people can defend
Yeah,
that. That's
to
not getting
me,
a red.
it was weird just in that he goes side of the foot and he's clearly going for a hard tackle and he misses the ball. So to me,
But
it
he could
didn't
have broken
seem
his knee. He
yeah,
could
yeah.
have broken his knee.
Like if for the how dangerous the tackle is, for sure, I get why it gets called a red, but it didn't seem malicious as much as it seemed clumsy from my
Yeah, but
perspective.
I understand your point completely. I understand your point, but to be honest with you, it's very hard. It could have created a lot of damage to that to the
Yeah.
player, and I think it's. But again, I want to move into to one thing. If this is Liverpool without their even second midfielders, because it's this is they played Morton from the academy, and they were not bad. Liverpool were good.
Yeah.
And that's what people said about the depth City can get new midfielders and all of them are superstars. Liverpool
Mhm.
couldn't.
Mhm.
Liverpool could not replace Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago. Milner tried so hard, but I don't think Milner can do it at the top level anymore. And I don't know why Chamberlain did not play in that game, but I
Yeah,
think he
yeah.
was ill or something. But Liverpool, they played okay, but this is not the same Liverpool that we saw before. And I know as much as we should give credit to Conte, I think Liverpool would they need reinforcement in the midfield in January, to be honest.
To me, I think you look at games where they don't have Virgil van Dijk and goals squeeze past them. Like you think of that Harry Kane's first goal, which it photo finish, but he doesn't get the shot off if that's Virgil van Dijk instead of Kanate. I,
Well,
I, I
but
believe that like wholeheartedly. Like I think, and if you look at Kanate's passing out of that left side, like he's a decent one-on-one defender. He does a good job, but he's not pinging 70-yard balls across the field.
yeah, but he's not the best defender in the world. So yes,
But
of
that's what I'm
course, he's not going to
saying.
be
But
Van
but you
Dijk.
see how much Liverpool relies on
Ex-
Van Dijk to just
ex-
sweep up everything for them.
Exactly, because they're a lot of times in the midfield and kind of with their wing backs, sometimes there's like a little bit of sloppy play or there's those quick turnovers with the counter. If Kane and Ali's finishing was a little better that game, Tottenham could have won by two or more. Allison had some great saves. Obviously, he had that big whiff that led to the Sun goal. But yeah, if that was tough because, like Cayman said, a lot of those chances that they had might not even have like gotten to be chances. There might not even be shots taken, or those wouldn't even be chances that we're talking about right now. But the loss of Van Dijk is always very apparent in that Liverpool defense.
But did you guys see Conte with a 3-5-2, two forwards flat next to each other in that first goal on the same line?
Mhm.
between the center backs and the fullbacks, and this is exactly what he did with Lautaro Martinez and Lukaku, and when he did before, when he played Hazard behind Costa, and it was Bruno, City fan, saying that Kane stretch had missed. Absolutely, Bruno. We talked about it, and he has been killed everywhere. He should have gotten a red card, and it's
Yeah.
unfair that because he's the English captain, he does not get a red card again. So Bruno, thanks, but of course it is missed. But going back to Antonio Conte, to be honest, uh, Dele Alli reborn this game, guys. I
Yeah, I
did
agree.
not see Dele Alli play like this since 2018, to be honest.
No, he was great. I think that's something that if Conte can bring the best out of Dele Alli, then that's another attacking threat that they can unlock because at his best he's world class, and he just hasn't
Yeah.
been for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I remember Dele Alli was like 100 million euros midfielder when Real Madrid came for him in 2018, and we were talking about a guy that will change the midfield and that will replace people in Real Madrid, but then he dropped. But again, I have full trust in. I'm not a Spurs fan, but I have full trust that Antonio Conte can actually. We have to say that he can make any piece of meat a great steak. I know that he's gonna request some certain type of players, but I also think that Antonio Conte is someone who can, by his plan, make your average forward a good one. He makes your average wing back someone great. He can make your midfielder run more and give more on the field. And Jackson can tell us all about this from his times at Chelsea.
Yeah. I mean, what I liked about watching Tottenham, I thought their defense was actually very good. Like I know they conceded some big chances, but if you're going up against the top three of Mane, Jota, and Salah, and then Trent back there cleaning up the rebounds to try to hammer home a volley, you're going to concede chances. But overall, I thought the defense did very well. And like I said, the midfield did a good job of creating chances. It was just up top they lacked some finishing ability, but I thought that was very promising. From Spurs, and I think everyone agreed that game was pretty electric. It was a great watch. Um, so yeah, if you're a Spurs fan, I think you have a lot to look forward to right now under Conte.
People should be excited. Spurs fans should be excited. I think I don't- I know that they said that we had Mourinho, we had Pochettino. I don't think they had this caliber of a manager ever before. This is a new world for Spurs. Someone who said before coming second in the league is a loss. Is There's only one winner. They say he said that when they asked him about his target, he said there's only one thing. Is only one winner in this league. Everybody else is next. And I think they're gonna give Arsenal, Man United a run for the money. To be honest, I think they're gonna challenge really hard for top four. To be
Mhm.
honest, Spurs. But going to Liverpool, are we considering this a step back, or it's you're playing Spurs away? This is a Spurs that is gonna be tough to win against. Did they fall behind City, or this is just a point game?
I mean, I think it's just a game where you don't have the best defender in the world. You get a couple of calls that don't go your way, and you're playing away against a high counter-attacking Spurs side. I think this is just the classic Premier League. You drop points to a team
Yeah,
on the given day. I think if you look at it, Liverpool is miles ahead of where Tottenham is right now, regardless of if they have Conte or not.
yeah. I think it's also hard to say it's a step back for Liverpool when they're missing a good chunk of their starters, kind of like Cayman said. So this past couple of weeks has been hard to judge a lot of teams, but no, I don't. I would not say it's a step back for Liverpool.
Guys, one of our friends, he's a dear friend of mine, Uncle Sharma, saying he said that this isn't like strictly a Premier League, but he's an YouTube content creator. He's been one of the best guys out there, and he's asking about the weaknesses that we saw in Liverpool's game, especially because he's an Inter fan. I'm an Inter fan as well, and he's talking. It's the same formation that Inzaghi for Inter plays, which they're gonna play Liverpool in the round of 16 of the Champions League, and Conte played the same system. It's the 3-5-2. Did you guys see any? any places where Liverpool were exploited during that game?
Oh, I mean, I think you saw it out wide on the counter, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Liverpool sends so many people up forward, especially with like guys like Trent, and you have your two center backs getting 2-on-2 with two incredible attackers, right? So you have Son and Kane. I mean, you look at the first goal, Kane gets one-on-one with Kanate, beats him in the initial foot race, he gets a shot off. So, and you look at all the overloads. I mean, if you have someone like Dele Alli make a run into that side channel while Trent's like pulled up, then you just have an overload on that side. And if Dele Alli doesn't botch the ball to the back post, they score. So, like that, when you don't have the best defender in the world fit and healthy, then it's very easy for them to basically create these overloads on counters against Liverpool as long as you can get past their press. I mean, you saw West Ham do it too, right?
Yeah, I have nothing to add there. Cayman kind of just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, if this is what I saw as well. If you bypass that press with a couple of good passes and you attack these sides next to the center backs, you definitely have 2-on-2. It's now down to your like individual abilities of your forwards, to be honest. And if one midfielder, like at this match, it was Deli Ali, he got behind the midfield about 3, 4, 5 times in this game. And if someone, I'm talking from Inter's point of view, if someone like Barella or Hakan Çalhanoğlu can get behind the press, but the other guys can deliver a ball, this is where you get three. There was 3-on-2 yesterday at some point that Allison had to come up and clean, and he missed one the second half, but he got one the first half. It's these teams, Liverpool and City, they press with a lot of force. And if you bypass that press with good passing, now you have a chance to score every single time, which is what people said on Twitter yesterday. After 20, 30 minutes, people said this could have been 4. It could have been 3-0 by now if they have better finishing, as Cayman said. And this is, I think, where it breaks down, bypassing that press. They rely on the press and they have to be sure to get the ball. If they don't get the ball, they are really exposed. But adding Van Dijk, actually, just one point, adding Van Dijk makes that defense a lot stronger because he reads the game very well. And without him, they are exposed. But I think still with him, they are exposed because he's not going to be able to defend 5, 6, 7 times one-on-one without a mistake.
Yeah. Also, I was just going to say, to your point, like if you do bypass that press, yeah, you're good. But with teams like Liverpool and City, where you see a lot of teams get in trouble is they think that they can bypass the press and they try to get a little too comfortable playing out of the back, and then they just get pressed too hard because they fall right into the trap, and then the cycle kind of repeats. So there's like a fine balance of like choosing when to break or try to break those lines with their passing.
Yeah, Tavares is an example. He thought that we still can pass the ball from the back in the Arsenal game, and he just gave the ball to Diego Jota. So this is where players need to be absolutely like mentally prepared to pick and choose their moments.
Well, to be fair, I think Tavares thought that Jota was on his team because that was horrendous.
Okay. We gotta move on from this game, man. Thank you, Sharma, for dropping by. We gotta move on from this game, and I'm gonna talk about ruthless City, guys. Like this was horrendous, to be honest. From Leeds, yes, but even Newcastle tried. I know they made a mistake in the beginning of the game, but this is not the way you play Man City, Leeds, or Newcastle. You have to defend better. Newcastle tried, but this Man City team has so much quality going forward that it's actually. I'm sitting there watching the games, and sometimes I feel it's really, really unfair to the other teams playing Man City. Do you guys feel the same?
Yeah.
Especially Jackson. I just want to, Jackson, being a Chelsea fan, do you think it's unfair, the City team?
I mean, I wouldn't call it unfair. I mean, a little bit, yes and no. I mean, it's unfair the amount of talent they had, like over the year. Yeah, I guess with like financial fair play, but they worked up to that squad. Like we say every week, it's just their rotation that is just so the depth really, it's just so head and shoulders above any other team. Like, because if there was a COVID outbreak in Man City and there was 4 injuries and they had to play their third team, that okay, like it's still going to
We
be
wouldn't
a
even
hell
know
of a game.
about it. We wouldn't even feel it. We
Yeah.
wouldn't feel it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, it's unfair.
I'm so curious. Like, I mean, obviously everyone there is getting paid a whole lot, but what is Pep saying to these people to make them okay with, playing, like, starting 30% of the games
Yeah,
they
man.
play for
This is
this
this is
club?
this is something. He has to be the greatest
Yeah.
manager of all
Yeah.
time, right? Like to have Riyad Mahrez or to have Kevin De Bruyne sitting on the bench and happy to come in the last 20 minutes. You have to be like some kind of like a psychiatrist, a magician, right? Like
It's like,
talking to people, like this is something that like he hypnotized these guys. I like
they all have
they're
Stockholm
so
syndrome.
happy.
Yeah.
They're happy to sit on the bench, like, and
Yeah.
nobody, you never see anybody from the city team coming and saying, "Oh, I'm gonna leave the team next season. I'm not renewing my contract." Everything is done behind the scenes. Everything is great. There's a harmony everywhere. Did have you? I hope that every manager can do that.
Yeah, Silva saying that he's like thinking about moving on and stuff like that, and then immediately he's starting in like in the best form of his life.
Yeah, it's like it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
That being
It's
said,
just,
what y'all think of that lead side? I think they're pretty battered with the injuries they have, but I mean, I think it just goes to show that they don't have the depth to stay in the Premier League, and I think they're going down.
No.
I actually don't think so.
Really?
Jackson, go ahead. Go ahead, Jackson.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with Cayman. No way. I think they're going to continue to struggle. And then I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they go down, and then we might not see from them again because then their stars are going to be poached because they definitely have some quality players that are definitely crucial to that team. And if they go, that lead side is going to be in a lot of pain.
I think it's Bielsa's fault. I think he's this is gonna
Really?
be this is gonna sound ridiculous. He's a one-trick pony in terms of
Yes.
managing games. He's a one-trick pony.
It's not
It's
built
just
for the Prem.
I know he's great developing players. He made these players who were mid-table championship team, a Premier League team. But there is a way to manage games. You can't just go to the Etihad and try to press Man City. Who are you? And with what players? Liverpool didn't do it. They defended the whole half. Liverpool, the first half. They do it like Liverpool did it on like phases. You know what I mean? Like they didn't do it from the first minute. This was the fastest 5 minutes I have seen in the Premier League. The first fastest 5 minutes I've seen in the Premier League ever. I have not seen that much running. I want someone to find me the statistics regarding how much running happened in the Leeds and Man City game in the first 5 minutes. Every player probably covered 2-3 miles. It was unbelievable, to be honest.
Yeah.
Why do you do that? And you leave that much space to these City players who have not only plan A and B, they have plan Z. Like if you try to mark these City players, they come at you from anywhere. It's the fullbacks or the center backs or who you don't know who to mark. So I think it's Marcelo Bielsa's fault that game. And because he's Marcelo Bielsa and he's that big of a stature, you can't talk about him. If you talk about Marcelo Bielsa, you don't know football. It's as simple as that.
I think the thing that frustrates me with Bielsa is, I mean, what we see with the Premier League is that it's such a like grueling season and so physically intense. Then you take Bielsa, a guy who demands so much from his players, and he wants to do it with like so little of a squad because he likes his small squads, right? And what you see, that does not work in the Premier League. Your players get injured, and then you can't win games. Like I'm thinking of the Arsenal game, and I know we're going to talk about it later, but I mean, without Calvin Phillips, without Patrick Bamford, what do they do?
Yeah,
they were torn apart. They were torn apart.
Yeah, yeah.
And then your only offensive outlet is Rafinha, who's a great player, but he can only do so much if he's like the only one that they're constantly turning to try to like provide some spark.
And if we look at the Newcastle game as well, I mean, they got beat horribly by City. It happens.
I don't
They
think
had
he.
some
But they
good
play,
chances.
but they play better than Leeds.
I agree. I mean, I completely
They
agree.
played
Uh,
way
I
better than
don't.
Leeds.
Well, maybe I just like for defensively, it looked like they just didn't really care about defending. Because if you look at every single one of those City goals, terrible defending. Like the
Yeah.
Ruben Diaz goal start, terrible mistake, and then you look at the other one with everyone just had acres of space. Mahrez wasn't marked at all. Sterling was not marked in the slightest. Who scored the second goal? I forget.
Cancelo.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that was just a screamer. No one's doing anything about that. But yeah, like if you look at all those, just everyone was just found in acres of space. So like they
Mhm.
just did not care to try to pick up a City player, which anyone in the world can tell you that's going to end up in a goal.
But they did create some good chances, I think.
Oh, they did.
And
Yeah, I'm not saying.
I think there's points where they were taking it to City, but and you can't say that about Leeds when they played City.
Yeah, true.
Bruno again is saying City has limited their sales, but continue to increase their staff. Uh, yeah, this team is currently extremely successful. That's why they are happy. Take
Yeah,
the
that's
success
fair.
away and the youngsters from the
Yeah.
players. I'm not sure. They still lost the league the year before, and they did not win Champions League. And City are I think Guardiola is one of the greatest in man management ever. To be honest, he does this. Yes, this is the second point. Should they part ways with Bielsa and get someone like Big Sam to just stay in the league?
Man, we got to change the name of this podcast from, Everything EPL to Everything Watford, the way we're talking about canon managers.
Yeah.
But no, I mean,
The
it might be what needs to be done.
I think it definitely needs to be done. Maybe not Big Sam, but like get rid of Bielsa.
I
Yeah,
honestly
Bruno's
think
actually agreeing with Jackson. He's saying that Newcastle did not defend. They don't know how to defend. I don't think they know. To be honest.
they just need this January transfer window so bad. I
Yeah.
mean, their left center back is so atrocious. Their left back is horrible. Like they just need to revamp their back line for sure. Because I think they have a very talented attack, honestly. And Joe Linton, I don't know what he's being told, but he looks like an actual Premier League player. And
But the guy looks brilliant. He's
yeah,
everywhere.
he
Defending,
looks
passing, he's
phenomenal.
everywhere now.
Yeah.
I remember Joel Linton the year before. He was like, "Oh, this guy's not a Premier League material. He needs to leave." And now he's like, he looks great.
Mm-hmm.
But do we think City are like, okay, is it their title to lose or not yet? Yes.
Well,
I think it
I
is.
mean, maybe because
Oh
they're.
my
I
God,
mean,
look at Jackson came in. Look at Jackson is so depleted that they are cut out of the.
all right. Well,
Like,
here's the thing. City is only 3 points clear, so that's one game. So City could have like a terrible game for them and happen to lose all 3 points, and then the title race it's right back on, right? Because then they're
they're
tied.
still back on 3 points, but the way they play, they're not gonna lose points that easy.
Oh, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I'm saying we know the crazy things happen all the time in the Premier League. But I will say I just saw this stat yesterday. Every time City has been leading by Christmas break, they've won the league. So we all have that to look forward to. But
we all have that not to look forward to be honest, because now it's gonna be boring.
well, no, that was I was using some sarcasm, Mo. But yeah, I'm
okay.
Yeah.
You just Jackson just sounds serious all the time.
Did you not see the City flag in the back right there?
Okay. Oh yeah, it's right back there. No, but, yeah. I mean, I hope that it gets back to normal, but or not normal. You know what I mean? Like back in the earlier in the season.
I wanna ask you guys something. Is it boring?
No.
It's not boring. It's
No.
not boring that you go to the games. Okay, I know it's fun to watch the highlights for City. Like they do great. Like Cancelo, De Bruyne, these guys are like phenomenal players for a real, right?
Yeah.
But is football about going to the games not knowing what to expect, or it's just about going to enjoy some highlights and someone just imagine you going to a boxing game knowing exactly who's gonna win it?
Well,
And you can just beat
they
that.
have dropped points to other teams, right?
Yeah.
But they control the game. But that's the problem. That's what I do. That is why, and I'm not having a dig at City. They are okay. It's actually I'm actually complimenting them when I
Mhm.
say they are. It's boring to watch their games because they have so much of the ball and they create so many chances that it requires an enormous amount of luck for the other team to get a point or to win the game.
Yeah,
You'll never see Man City pinned back. Like it doesn't happen often.
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I see what you mean where it can be boring. Like, yeah, you go to see like the excitement of it. You don't know who to win, the back and forth. But also, I really do enjoy watching City play because it's tactical masterclass from them. You're seeing some of the best players in the world play the best soccer that we're seeing right now. It's like there's very little mistakes from them. They're very well coached. What they do when they have the ball, how when they find their passes, when they ping it around, it's just great soccer. And it kind of just goes to show how head and shoulders like above they are from other teams who because I just find it interesting they'll go to teams and absolutely dominate them and then you watch that team play um, someone else that city dominating it's a very like it's a they're look like both teams are looking great and it's to your point the excitement you don't know who's going to win I just think it's incredible from city.
Yeah, it's Bruno's saying that their style shows the lack of quality in the APL, but I think it's the Guardiola system. I think it's the Guardiola system, to be honest. It's just it's when you have something very superior to everything else. So I have this theory that I heard it somewhere, to be honest, and it was point to what I thought all this time about the Guardiola system. It's during his time at Barcelona. It's Guardiola presses so hard on the other teams, which is it's the same as Liverpool, right? His teams press so hard on the other teams that if you're able to string a couple of passes together, you actually have a chance
Mhm.
to create something. But the problem is in any league in the world, any league, it's the Italian, he didn't coach in the Italian, the German league, the Spanish league, the Premier League. There is so little number of teams. There's not a lot of teams that have the quality of players to bypass that press. And that's why we see the dominance of Guardiola in the leagues where he coaches. Because over the 38 games, this happens from the big teams like Liverpool, maybe Chelsea, but it happens very little from Crystal Palace. As Bruno said, they lost to Crystal Palace. It happens very little, right, in the league because there is not a lot of quality in any league below the top four or the top six teams to actually be able to outplay City and actually bypass their press. And that's why in the Champions League, when you play superior teams and teams don't have that fear factor from the top of the league City or the top of the league Bayern Munich or Barcelona with Messi and Pedro and all these people, they play better and they can bypass that press and they can create chances like what Chelsea did. They created 2-3 chances in the final by bypassing the press. Boom, you're 1-1 with the goalie, and that doesn't happen often in the Premier League. That's why their win percentage is very very high.
I do think there's something to be said though about league play versus just or tournament play in general, right? Like Arsenal beat City a couple years ago, and at that to win the FA Cup, but at that point would like no one would be like, oh yeah, Arsenal's a better team than City, right? Like there's something a little bit different than that, and other teams being like, oh, I'm not scared. Like I mean, we even talk about that. They were in the finals of the Champions League last year, and Chelsea beat them, but that doesn't mean that I think Chelsea's the best team overall. Like
Well,
City's the best team in the world. They just are.
They just look like that. This is and I want to say they look like this. It's not. This is what I want to say. It's not true. It's just it looks like this all the time. But they got to like against PSG. They look like kids. They were pressing. I know they created chances, but with
The
two chances, the first game with two chances,
yeah.
they were bypass the press, and they look
Mhm.
like what happened. The City players were looking at each other, thinking, "What happened here? Why we were being picked apart like this?"
But then the second PSG game,
But because and
and
that
they made
is comes
PSG look like
Guardiola.
children.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but comes
Yeah,
Guardiola and his mastery of sometimes
agreed.
picking the right thing.
Yeah.
But Bayern City, Bruno's thinking that it's gonna be a Bayern City in the final. Well, everything can change in January, to be honest. We have seen a lot of things, and I don't want to do Real Madrid. Real Madrid are absolutely flying right now in terms of doing everything under the radar, but they're just playing phenomenal, to be honest. But
Mhm.
we'll see how it is in Champions League. But we're gonna move on from City and to the team, the Champions League holders, the guys that suddenly are not playing great, the guys that suddenly are out of the title race. Are they closer to the fourth positions than actually they are the same distance? They are 6 points above top four, above Arsenal in fourth, and they are 6 points behind Man City. Jackson, I'm going to start with you right away. What happened?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do. I know Tuchel put in a request to have the game postponed, and it was declined by the Premier League. We had a lot of players who were out, important players, and then also we just didn't really have our like a striker, someone there who's there to finish the chances. Werner and Lukaku haven't been there. If you looked at the bench, we didn't even have an attacker to go in to be subbed in. The most attacking player on the bench was Ross Barkley. So I think, and going up against a team like Wolves, who we know have just kept so many clean sheets in their last few games, it was going to be tough. I was expecting a low scoring game. I was hoping to get a goal out of there, but the chances just weren't coming. Barely created any chances. I don't even think we had more than like two shots on target that game, and got lucky with that. That
Offsides
Jimenez
call.
was off on. So that was tough. I thought that was in, but yeah, that was a tough one. It was kind of I'll say it was a bit of a boring game.
I understand that in the Everton game. That I understand that Chelsea did not have a forward in the Everton game when they created a lot of chances, but they did not finish. Right?
Hmm.
It is, but I don't understand what happened in the Wolves game. There's no there is no chances created, as you said, and that has nothing to do with the forward, to be honest. That has something to do with, do you think it's mentally the players with COVID, with all what is going on around the league, they deserve this game to be postponed?
I mean, coming from a biased Chelsea supporter, I definitely would have liked the game to be postponed so we could have some of those bigger players in there. But also for me, I think where a lot of because what you saw in Everton is Chelsea had like clear control of the game for a lot of the game. It was like Chelsea pinning Everton back. Everton couldn't get
It
out.
was 82% chance, I think 82% position. So
Yeah, you didn't really see that in Wolves because we didn't really lock them in their half. They kept coming at us. You know what I mean? Like honestly, they probably were favorites to win that game after a certain period because they were just looking more likely to score. There was just it was a flat performance. But with that being said, I'm not really worried about challenging for top four. I'd still say we're in the title race again. Kind of what I said about Liverpool. I don't really know if it's fair to say Chelsea took a step back right now with the injuries and COVID cases that we're having. So I think hopefully if we can sort that out, especially by Boxing Day, I think we'll be back on track. I'm not too worried.
Cayman, do you think Chelsea are in the title race, or they are not anymore? This is just done.
I mean, I definitely still see them in the title race. I think they're like what 3 points behind Liverpool right now. I
Yep.
think the way that I see it is they just had a game with horrible injuries and horrible COVID cases, and they managed to get a point out of it against a really good Wolves side. So if you're complaining about getting a point against a good side when you're in a title contention, that's fine. I mean, we've seen teams win the league being able to do that. Like you've got teams like City who've dropped points to Southampton. Like there's other teams that are dropping points, and they're going to keep dropping points. It's just dealing with that and getting consistency as much as possible. And I think if you're complaining about a tie every once in a while, then you're doing fine, right?
Hmm.
Just what I don't understand is what Bruno said here. We need more consistency. Why did Man United get the request approved to postpone the game and Chelsea didn't? It's just and why Tottenham got 3 games and now Arsenal. Is it fair like having 4 games playing? You guys play Arsenal played 3 games ahead of Chelsea, but ahead of Spurs, but it's unfair to be honest. However, from footballing perspective, we thought that Chelsea they actually have the depth and to have Timo Werner and Lukaku out that shows that it's too much. Like it was too much to have that many people out, and it affected the quality of the football that Chelsea provided during these games, and that's where the inconsistency and the unfairness happen. To be honest, this is where it needs to be fixed somehow, but there is no fixing. We are in a pandemic, like there is no fixing here. It's just a
Yeah, I feel like whenever I say depth problems, like I think of like West Ham or like Leeds is a good example, right? You lose 2 or 3 players and your team's drastically affected. I think what happened with Chelsea, like 7 players with COVID, so you got like 9 players up. Like you're past the point of a depth problem for me.
It just took out it bypassed the depth.
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of strange to be honest.
Yeah, so
I wanna go ahead. I really wanted to hear your opinion, Jackson, about like this
yeah,
COVID situation, and do you think it's gonna affect your title hopes or not?
if we can get it under control, I hope not. Maybe after Boxing Day, if the Premier League makes a decision, there's a couple weeks down that could help. Because I know Tuchel was saying is like, how are we supposed to get the COVID cases under control if for 4 consecutive days players and staff tested positive, and then we have a 3-hour bus ride where we all have to sit right next to each other, which is a good point. But I did like what he said. He was like, "But we're playing today, so we're here to play and we're here to win." But going back before, with everything that, like, with how many players we missed and things that could have gone wrong in that Wolves game, I wasn't okay. I don't know. Maybe I said it wrong. I'm not displeased with the point. I think that was a good result, especially against the Wolves side. But it was just a little disappointing to to see all those players who were missing and Tuchel not really being able to try to, I guess, just perform everything he's tried to set up. You know what I mean? Just because of the lack of personnel. But like a point's not too bad. I think we just gotta, yeah, just get back on it in these next few games.
Last question about Chelsea is top four will be a successful season, or not winning the or winning the title is the only thing that will make it successful.
I mean, I think with the start, you have to. If Chelsea finishes third or fourth, I would maybe say that is. Actually, I don't know. That's tough because where Tuchel picked up under Frank Lampard, I'm going to say if he finishes top four, that's great. But I guess it's just how Chelsea started the season. You kind of expected them to be winning or right there under City. So I would still say top four is a success. And yes, obviously the goal right now is still the title, not just top four. I'll leave it at that.
I think if Chelsea go toe to toe until the end, then I don't think any of the 3 teams will call it a failure if they go toe to toe until the last 2 3 weeks and then someone wins it. Now you tried, you just did not give up when there was like 10 to 12 weeks left, and this is what's called success. But if comes 12 games and Chelsea are like 15 points behind,
Yeah.
that's a big margin to be honest. This is where I call, because if you are challenging the title at the end and then you lose it next year, you are going to be there. You know that mentally I can win it. I just needed that extra step. But if I'm 15, 20 points behind the leader at the end of the season, I'm like, there is miles between me and this guy. I need a lot of time to work and I need years to do that. And that's why Liverpool and City, they are like, it's every year now. Apart from what happened to Liverpool last year with Van Dijk, it's they are always at each other's tails, like they think we're equal. And Chelsea, they need this year. Even if they don't win the league, they need to have a small margin between them and the leaders at the end of the league to know that we are actually now at that level where we can chat. We are one signing away or one step away from winning the title next year. And this is just what I think about Chelsea, to be honest, about Chelsea's season, to be honest, at the end. But we're still early. right?
Mhm.
Um, Another part of London and the happy people. We just call them the happy people of London now.
Ah,
All right, simmer down.
hey, come on, Jackson. You got to give me this.
Is
What? So I couldn't
Martinelli the
hear you
best?
from the 6 points behind you. What was that? I'm kidding.
Uh,
No, Arsenal's looking great.
to be honest
Man,
with you, let me just tell you something. Arsenal fans, is Arteta the best manager in the world? Arteta out, and then now we're challenging for the title. Like,
yeah.
okay, hear me out. People are saying Arsenal are not challenging for the title. They think that Arsenal are gonna just stay top four. They are now. I still think we are getting caught into this winning against Leeds, winning like I know that you won against West Ham in a like in a very controversial way. I know that you were dominating the game, but Schufel getting sent off was absolutely ridiculous. It's a ridiculous decision. Both cards are not, it's my opinion. I know maybe you disagree with me,
I thought it was a harsh
but
call.
it's very harsh. But to be honest, I can get behind this Arsenal. I see the plan. I see what's going on. I see the tactics, right? Like in the beginning of the season, you can't see what is going on. Right now, you see the playing from the back, you see
Mhm.
the attacking from the wings, you see the ball movement. How happy are you and how optimistic are you to get to this Christmas period and go into the second part of the season, Kanan?
Yeah, no, I think it's huge. I think I agree too that people might be taking the Leeds win a little bit too well. I mean, this Leeds team is atrocious. But I mean, Arsenal played well. They did their game plan. But the West Ham game for me, even before the controversial decision, was just a great showing from Arsenal against a very good West Ham side. And I think you look at guys like Martinelli coming in there and playing just phenomenal. I think Alexander Lacazette looks incredible up top as that hold up guy. And if we can maybe even inject more talent up top, in the January transfer window as it's being talked about, I think Arsenal's in a really good spot. I think, Jacques is a really controversial figure, but you look at Party and he's a much better player when playing beside Xhaka. And Xhaka's numbers are pretty good overall, besides the random silly challenge. And we actually see what I thought was interesting is because I always thought Xhaka would be the one to hold. But with Arteta's newest iteration of tactics, you really see Xhaka getting pushed up more as almost like a number eight and having Party kind of sit in there by himself whenever we go on transitions. I mean, you look at one of the goals against Leeds and you have Xhaka coming in for one of the assists. So like it's nice to see in that way and how much calmer we are building out of the back right now since we've got guys like Tierney back in the starting lineup and Xhaka as well. And I think all of the signings have started to look really good, barring one of the silliest challenges I've seen from Ben White in my entire life.
Yeah.
But no, there's things to be optimistic about. I think saying that we're clearly the fourth best team in the league might be a bit of a stretch. I think Tottenham, Man U, and West Ham are still in it, but West Ham gets one bad injury, and then we're fighting for fourth and fifth spot. And I think it's something that's doable with this Arsenal side. I really do. I think players are really starting to come together, specifically with the youth, like Martinelli, like I mentioned. Saka, Odegaard's looked better and better, and I mean, Emil Smith Rowe has become an absolute monster. Especially, I mean, he's scoring off the bench. He's scoring when he starts. I think the biggest challenge is if Arteta can find a way to somehow put Emil Smith Rowe and Odegaard into the same starting lineup. This team's going to be a problem.
Well, you have a very congested schedule in the next 2 weeks, and it's gonna be
Mhm.
everybody's gonna get their minutes. To be honest, like it's like you had to have Odegaard and Smith Rowe playing well to be able to alternate. Otherwise, it would have been really hard for to keep the same plan going with
Yeah.
players not performing. And this is why they needed Zaka back. They needed Martinelli to play again, and it's Smith Rowe can actually play on the left wing. We have seen that before, but with the form that Martinelli in right now, we don't know what's gonna. He got out. He got off injured, but he's gonna be okay. They say so. He's gonna play, but you'll need players. You're playing every 2 3 days, and this is what we are actually seeing from Arsenal now, that they can put this guy, can remove Odegaard, put Smith Rowe, and it's the same plan going forward. The only player that I think is actually is untouchable and cannot be replaced is Gabriel. It's the guy's a
Yeah,
monster, to be honest.
yeah,
I
he
have to
is.
agree with every Arsenal fan that told me that Gabriel is a monster. He's really, really good. Jackson, is Arsenal a threat to Chelsea's third, or is Chelsea so good that they're gonna go back and then be with that big margin between third and fourth?
So I think Arsenal has been playing very well, and even in their losses and ties, I think when that happens, they're just a step off. And Arteta's definitely keeping Arsenal moving in the right direction. Arsenal, I think, is in a very good spot. With that being said, I don't think that they'll really start to challenge Chelsea too much. If anything, what I predict is that that 6 point gap is going to stay there for a while. Like Arsenal's going to get some wins, Chelsea's going to get some wins, and it's going to stay. And then maybe Arsenal drops a couple points and the gap widens. I would honestly say that Arsenal's in a race for the fourth spot with Spurs right now. I think that's going to be their biggest competitor on the table. I honestly don't know who would finish ahead. If I had to choose, I'd say Spurs. But to answer your question, no, I don't think Arsenal's going to be able to challenge Chelsea that tightly. But they're in a very good spot right now. I will say that.
Arsenal
I'm
are go
oh,
ahead. I
sorry.
just putting the fact in that Arsenal are actually 5 points ahead of Man United, but Man United have 2 games in hand. You are 6 points ahead of Tottenham, but Tottenham have 3 games in hand. So they are fourth, yes, but to know that the games of Tottenham are against, I think, Burnley, Leicester, and Brighton, and 3 are winnable, to be honest, for Spurs, to be honest with you. At least 2 of them are very, very winnable. Leicester is maybe questionable. I'm not sure. Man United, they have the Brighton game, and they have Man United. I think they had the other game that was postponed. I can't remember which game was
Is it
postponed
Burnley?
last week. Burnley again. I think so. I think it's Burnley again. So I think both teams have winnable games, and it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be very, very tight. This top four, Jackson. Cayman said something about Arsenal being in a better position than these guys.
Um, so what I'm thinking is that, I mean, obviously Tottenham has games in hand, but to be honest, I think I'd rather have the points up front than have the pressure of having to catch another team. And you mentioned the 3 games that they're playing, and I think they might give more trouble than we're really giving them credit for. I think Burnley, regardless of what form they're in, is always just so annoying to play, and they can squeeze points out of teams. And then Leicester, you never know. And then if we look at a team, like you said, it was Brighton for the other team. Brighton's another one of those teams. Like, these are teams that, like, yeah, are they beatable? For sure, but they're also teams you can very much lose to, and we've seen top teams drop points to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so
And I just sorry, like Jackson,
no, no,
because
no.
we're
Go
talking
ahead,
about
go ahead.
Tottenham. Jackson said something that he thinks Tottenham's a little bit ahead of Arsenal right now, but I'm a little bit curious and why that is. Only because I think the Premier League is a league so heavily decided by the strength of your defense, and I think Arsenal's back line is miles ahead of Spurs. I think Jake Dyer and Sanchez are nowhere near the level of Ben White or Gabriel.
What
And I
about
think
Davis?
I think
Davis
Davis
has
is
been playing.
fine.
Davis is playing the form of his life under
I,
Antonio Conte. He's turning him into like Rudiger. And-
Whoa. I don't know about
I don't
that.
know
no,
about that.
he's
That's
turning
a
he's
show.
turning
That's a
him
show.
he's turning him again is this ruthless defender, to be honest. But again, it's Davis. But I see your point, Cayman. So
And then
Jackson,
Tommy Yasu, like we've got Tierney, like Arsenal's backline is really good, and I think that's where a lot of their success is coming from. And I think Tottenham's team will drop points because of the lack of quality in some of their backline players.
See, I think that's a really good point, but just for me, like I said, Arsenal's moving in a very good direction. They're not as consistent as they were, but sometimes you will see some inconsistency, and there'll be a game where you're going in, and you're like, Arsenal should grab 3 points, and then they won't. I'm not saying
Everton.
that's not going to happen with Spurs because Spurs can be very Spursy, but I'm just saying under Conte right now, I have faith that he's really going to organize that back line and put a lot of structure into them. And going forward now, if you have Dele Alli back in form behind Son and Kane, if they're both firing, it's like I threw out a lot of ifs. There's a lot that has to go right to be honest, but I think they're in a good position if Conte can really bolster that back line in terms of just like structure and consistency there. That was my reason. And that's why I said I don't know. I would just give the benefit out to Spurs.
To kind of back
why
up.
We're ruling out Man United? Why we're ruling out Man United? They have they have the better depth. These two, Arsenal and Spurs, both teams are actually if Saka gets injured, Martinelli gets injured, Arsenal are down and out. There is nothing going forward from the wingers. And as you said, Jackson, it's Son and Kane, maybe Lucas Moura. If these guys get injured, who plays up top? There is nobody. They don't have any second striker like Chelsea, Man City, like Liverpool. They have Firmino, they have Oxlade-Chamberlain, they have Minamino, Origi. These teams, they have depth. Man United, they have Ronaldo. They still have Cavani on paper. He's still there.
I think I see your point here as well. And I would say I think the difference between the top 3 teams and the teams fighting for the 4th place position is you don't know if they're going to drop points to teams. Like it's like they could just drop points to these lower teams. And like we've seen that more consistently happen with Man United, Tottenham, Arsenal, and even West Ham to a certain extent. And like that's the difference between like you see Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City on a given day, they're going to beat any other team in the league. And you can't necessarily say that about the other teams fighting for 4th place. I will say though, I think Man United have incredible.
I said we don't have any depth. I'm not sure what is he talking like.
Which team is he referring to?
Which team? I don't think Arsenal have depth or Spurs. I think Man United they have depth. I think Man United they have 4 wingers in Rashford and Sancho. Cristiano can play as a winger.
Yeah, right? I think defensively though, Man and in the central positions, I think that's where they're weaker.
But hold a second, if Varane comes back, they have Varane, they have Lindelof, they have Maguire. At least they have 3 senior defenders competing for 2 positions. I'm not talking about Bailey as well. So I think Man United, they have better, on paper, they actually invested in the squad. I know that in the midfield, they are lacking a defensive midfielder. But imagine if Pogba is coming back now. We have Pogba, Fred, McTominay. I'm not talking about the quality of players because we have seen that maybe Ralph Rangnick can actually improve player like what he did with Fred in a game or 2. But I'm talking about numbers wise. Man United, they look like the team on paper. They have more players in the squad, right? Like
they have the best attack of all those teams on paper.
Sure.
On paper, yes.
I think this is shaping up to just be a really good season because you have 3 teams who are heavily fighting for the title, which there is a favorite right now. You have 3 or 4 teams who are battling for that 4th position. That's going to get real close, and then there's a whole mess going on where you don't know who's going down. So it's just all around.
I just wanted to ask Max, which one? Which team
what
you're
team
talking about? We're talking. Yeah, which team you're talking to, so we can answer that question. To be honest. It's go ahead, Jackson. I'm sorry. I just wanted to know. It's.
I'm curious too. No, it's fine. No, I was just saying. I think all around this is a very
maybe West Ham
season. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have just at all points in the table, you have you have things going on, and also those mid-table teams that aren't really fighting for anything. They have talent too, and they can easily take points away from any of those teams who are fighting for the title, the 4th spot, or even also going down. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this one shapes out. I'm excited.
Okay, I have to
Okay,
ask
guys.
y'all. I have to ask y'all. What are your three teams going down right now?
Leeds.
What?
Leeds. Uh,
What three teams do you have being relegated?
I'm gonna let Jackson to go.
I'm gonna say Leeds, Newcastle, and just for the good of soccer, Burnley.
Nice.
I want Burnley, Newcastle, Norwich. To be honest, as of now, I doubt if I doubt that they're gonna go down Leeds. To be honest, I doubt Marcelo Bielsa. They're not gonna go down.
I
I
think it'll
don't see how
be.
they're gonna turn it around.
I think this will be Watford, Norwich, and then we will have Leeds go down.
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay, guys, we've passed the hour mark, so that has been a lot of fun. There was a lot to like. We talked only about 14 or 5 teams, to be honest,
Yeah,
during this hour because of this. All of this because of Man City being ruthless and Liverpool and Spurs being very controversial. There's a week is a Carabao Cup happening tomorrow and after tomorrow, and managers complain that they want the semi-final of this not to be played on 2 legs. And I'm not sure what's going to happen because actually Spurs, if now they are out of the Conference League, they have a time to play a. I think I don't think they have time to play these games because you are not allowed to play the games while Champions League and your Europa League and Conference League are played. By the way, these weeks you can't play league games. It's just the rule, I think, because of the
Mhm.
viewers numbers. So I'm not sure where Spurs are gonna play these games. But anyway, I wanted to thank you both for being here with me. It was pleasure and always fun. And we got a really packed and congested schedule coming in, and we'll see if we can do this more often. But thank you guys. Thank you, Cayman.
Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Hope you're having a happy holidays.
Jackson, thank you, my friend.
thanks, Mo, as always, and happy holidays to everyone. Just like Cayman said, I tried to think of a way to say it differently, but I couldn't. So happy holidays.
Happy holidays to everyone. Thank you all for watching, and make sure to like our videos and subscribe to our content. And we'll see you in a week.
See you in a week. Don't be Burnley.
Don't be burned.